They say never judge a book by its cover, but don't we? In today's episode, I catch up with my good pal and renowned ink artist, Johnny 2/3, at Yer Cheatin Heart tattoo shop here in LA. This is the story of tattoo artist, ordained minister, and First Amendment crusader, Johnny 2/3. This is Think and Ink. But before we get rolling, make us smile by subscribing to our channel and let us know if there's another ink story you think we should tell. Were you always like this classic, nostalgic, old school dude? Because that is you feel like you're walked out of like a tattoo shop where there should be like a freaking 1940s Navy ship right next door.
Right. The guys that I learned from, the two guys that really cut my teeth in this business, are really fascinating men, and they were all about the 30s and the 40s Americana and this rich history that we have with tattooing. And you would walk into their shop and it was filled with antiques, and they wouldn't let you play any music past 1945. And they were they really created this scene that you would walk into. And I was this 18-year-old kid. I was a punk rocker and very modern almost, right? And I walked into this like bygone era that these guys had created. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the history of tattooing. And when I think about what I was into when I started learning, it was like kind of biker, trashy skulls, naked girls, chrome. What was happening at the time. And all of a sudden I meet these two men, Jeff Tillman and Peter Loggins, and they're all about anchors and traditional roses and eagles and tigers and daggers, and this whole world opened up to me. That I had no idea that existed. And so I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with traditional tattooing, and my whole perspective changed.
I'm getting a tattoo from Johnny, 15 plus years ago, one of my first ones, and I'm realizing part of the way through, and he's a pastor.
The image doesn't necessarily match our preconceived notions, right? Of what a pastor would look like, So I'm not vocationally a pastor, but there are people that God has put in my life that I get to speak into their lives. I get to teach or preach at Church on the Beach once a month or so, which is just helping people understand the Bible.
He used to have this epic old school classic sign that would hang, and I think they made you take that down. But the name, which is no longer obvious from the outside, but you see Yer Cheatin Heart, Y-E-R, Yer Cheatin Heart. So where did that name come from?
It just sounded like a tattoo shop name. And so we opened the Gardena shop about 16 years ago, and trying to come up with names. And Yer Cheatin Heart it seemed like
it's like a country
banner.
album.
Yeah, totally.
Kind of walk in and expect to see Dolly Parton there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yer Cheatin Heart just had a ring to it.
Yeah. You should not even be standing here. There was a massive legal battle that you were the man behind that basically not only enabled tattoo shops in the city of Hermosa Beach, where we are right now, that were banned, not allowed, but there are tattoo shops all across the country in cities and towns that previously to you, in your court case, would not have existed, were not allowed to exist.
I literally grew up on this pier. I remember sitting at this coffee shop directly below us thinking, one day I'm gonna come back and open up a tattoo shop here.
And at the time, there were no actual tattoo shops.
And this is where it gets interesting.
So you went to San Pedro because that was
LA. That's why tattooing was allowed there. Every other city, tattooing was prohibited, or they didn't have it on the books. I met this lawyer, and this lawyer actually said he couldn't believe me when I said it was illegal to tattoo. He said, tattooing's a legitimate art form. We should be able to get First Amendment relief. He said, listen, the way it works is if we win the case, the city has to actually pay for my legal fees. And so we started the lawsuit with Hermosa. The court case took 7 years. We actually lost first. The first time we appeared before the judge, and she seemed to feel very strongly that either she didn't understand the case or she just did not like tattoos. What they said was that it was going to attract
The wrong sort.
the wrong sort of people, which is so interesting, right? Because who does it attract? It attracts everybody. But so I thought my lawyer was going to leave, actually. He said, look, I'm willing to roll the dice again. And so we filed with the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. And some of the Ninth Circuit are very, very conservative.
Right.
Some are very liberal. So he calls me up and he says, we drew the 3 most conservative judges on the panel. And he goes, if we go up before them, we're going to lose. And what he wanted to do was to roll the dice again and wait another 3 years. So I call him up and I said, listen, I just want to be done with this. Let's take the judges. And I said, I believe that God told me whatever he desires from this, he's going to do anyway, and it has nothing to do with the judges. I had this confidence that regardless of what happened, but wanted the victory, but wasn't overly concerned about it. And we walk in and it becomes so obvious from 30 seconds in that the judges are upset that this is on their desk. And they ultimately ruled that tattooing is pure speech. So it's protected like a printing press is in this country. And so at one point, the attorney for the city of Hermosa even goes, like, do all you guys have tattoos? It was the most one-sided thing I think I've ever seen. But that was the point I realized, like, oh shoot, dude, we're gonna win. That drive back to Palm Springs, all the implications started to hit me. The implication was that this would set precedents, which meant every town or city in the United States now, they could not prohibit tattooing. It was such a big deal for me. I think the realness of it is kind of hitting me, that we started here in Hermosa, that there was nothing special about me. Just a dumb kid that had this dream that I was going to not only tattoo, I mean, that still blows my mind that this is what I get to do for a living. It blows my mind. But that I would sit underneath this spot where we're at, it blows my mind. Like, God has been so good in this.
The pastor, an incredible artist, a legal pioneer, crusader.
Yeah.
Here you are, brother.